So I've always been a big fan of these fighting games, the Injustice games in terms of Injustice Gods Among Us, Injustice 2, also frankly the Mortal Kombat games, but I've always been mostly interested in the storylines that were built, and for the most part they were always pretty good. But the one thing that always caught my eye was the alternate endings, and it was always such an awesome thing because we knew that these endings were practically impossible and they would never happen in the normal storyline. But since a lot of these games dealt with other realms or a complete and utter multiverse, being that we have multiple different Earths, we actually got a couple and quite a few amazing endings, especially in Injustice 2. But with that said, there's a lot that are extremely emotional, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the most emotional, or the Injustice 2 endings that will make you extremely emotional. And frankly, I want to start with one of my favorite Flash villains, and I guess he's kind of on the teeter of villain, especially in this game, and that's Leonard Snart, or Captain Cold. This ending is actually a pretty interesting one because he kind of starts out the ending as a more jokey, saying F you to Grodd, saying that he would never allow Brainiac to, completely and utterly take over the world and destroy the world and so on. But it turns into a very sad ending, in my opinion, because, well, he remarks about his sister, his past partner now passed on. And what makes it even more depressing is that this death is even referenced when he takes on the Flash in the Injustice 2 storyline. He takes on the Flash and he basically tells him that him and his regime buddies watched the execution of Golden Glider and they cheered for it. They cheered it on entirely. And frankly, it's just a very emotional ending in its totality.
Going after the regime was one thing, but destroy the planet for Brainiac? You really thought I'd go through with it, Grodd? Really? F*** you! Sorry it's been a while, sis. I know I've always got an excuse, but this time I finally figured out the right way to honor your memory. I know what you're thinking. Old Lenny sold out. So what? I'm making sure the regime and Brainiac never happen again. Even buried the hatchet with old Scarlet Speedster. Ironically, or whatever, he's the best partner I ever had. Besides you, sis.
Overall, it's just genuinely sad hearing him talk about his passed on sister, and the fact is he has a new partner, and even kind of feels bad in itself that he's calling his new partner the Flash, that he's one of the best, or if not the best partner he's ever had. I mean, outside of his sister, but there's a lot of grievances there in terms of dealing with that. But another person who had a very emotional ending, and that made me emotional, was Deadshot himself. Deadshot is another villain, but was forced to do things for Grodd because of Brainiac. And luckily enough, in this ending, he kills both Grodd and Brainiac, and talks about the fact that Grodd literally made him do horrible things, insinuating that he probably did some things way different than we could possibly even imagine. Probably things that are way more graphic than we would like to hear in the video game. But still, he gets his quote-unquote happy ending at the end of the day, with Bruce Wayne taking out his explosive out of his brain and basically spending a lot of time in the hospital and eventually seeing his daughter once again. But you might be wondering why this is so sad, or why is this so emotional. Other than the fact that he finally gets to see his daughter, this is the first time he's actually seen Zoe since she was 9 years old, and that is referenced also in the ending itself when he talks about it.
Grodd used the damn nano-explosive in my head to make me his bitch. The jobs he made me do, well, let's just say they crossed some lines. I bet taking Brainiac and Grodd into the authorities would be doing another stretch in Bel Rev. And I was right. Bruce Wayne even bankrolled getting rid of my TNT migraines for good. frickin' hate hospitals. But God, was it worth it? With that nano safely out, I could finally see Zoe again. Last time I saw my little girl, she had 9 candles on her birthday cake. Now I got a second shot at being dad. I sure as hell don't plan to miss it.
There's always something so emotional about a villain or a vigilante or even a anti-hero like Deadshot being a father, being someone that is trying to help or trying to see his daughter again, and frankly just fell along the wrong line of work. And let's be honest, once you're down that wrong line, it's so hard to get back. So the fact that this ending reconciles with his basically adult daughter at this point, and being able to see her whilst laying in the hospital bed, more or less showing that revival or kind of like a new start or a new beginning, it's definitely something awesome. But what about when someone like Dr. Fate actually has his own ending, and the end of his story is a pretty emotional one, because he would end up refusing the Lords of Fate in this ending of Injustice 2, and it would lead to him defeating Brainiac, because for some reason the Fates or the Lords of Fate was telling him, oh yeah, that Brainiac is all good and he'll do good things for the world and so on. But he ends up going to Zatanna and John Constantine to block out the Lords that once tortured him so much, and tortured him with, frankly, knowledge of the future. And luckily enough, they're able to do so. But on top of that, John Constantine's daughter, Rose, was able to actually give him something even more emotional than a brand new start of being rid of the Lords of Fate, but also giving him his wife back. Yes, his wife comes back from the dead, and now he is happy that he doesn't even know the outcome of what's to come. It's as if he finds solace in the fact that he doesn't know what's ahead of him, but he's happy that he can live in the moment and not worry about the future.
The Lords of Order believed Earth couldn't be saved, that only Brainiac's evil could restore order. I knew refusing the Lord's fate would anger them, and that they'd try to destroy me. Anyone else would have nowhere to run. Fortunately, I still have friends in low places. The House of Mystery guards the helm. Zatanna and Constantine's spells conceal me from the Lords. But it was John's daughter, Rose, who gave me the greatest gift of all. My wife, Inza, returned to life and in my arms again. For the first time since taking up the helm, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. And that is perfect.
So I must admit, there's probably not many endings emotional like that. I mean, if you know Dr. Fate and the torture that he goes through, I mean, it's pretty damn emotional. But another one that I did find pretty emotional was the Harley Quinn ending of Injustice 2, because she gets a spot on the Justice League, and you know, she talks about, oh, still wanting to bash some skulls in, but that's not even the emotional part of it. She wants to now make someone proud, and she's hoping that being good is gonna stick for good. But she basically talks about her kid Lucy, and that she actually only knows her as her crazy Aunt Harleen, but from what I can see is that's actually her actual daughter, and she wants to be good for her. At least that's the interpretation I get from when she references her kid Lucy as her kid Lucy, but maybe that's just like some lingo that Harley is talking about in terms of maybe kind of like a godmother type of thing. But I would assume that is actually her kid or her daughter, and she's not a good person necessarily, so she tries to split it off like she's her Aunt Harleen. But it's pretty emotional to think that someone like Harley Quinn, who's done some very heinous things, is in the process, if not at the peak of the process, of rehabilitation into finally being a better person.
I still can't believe it! Me, bringing down Brainiac! Who knew? Still, that surprised me, offering me a spot in the Justice League. Not totally sure he ain't crazy, but who says no to that guy? You know, Being good feels good. But every now and again, every once in a while, I get this irresistible urge to go out and bash some heads! Hopefully being good'll stick long term. Till I'm sure my kid Lucy's still gonna know me as her crazy Aunt Holleen. Maybe someday I can give her the real scoop.
Yeah, so I kind of already said this before, but having a kid and also like having that relationship being better now in this ending does make things drastically emotional. But in my opinion, this Kara ending sits with me pretty hard in terms of being emotional, because I've talked about this before, but Kara was the true victim of this story. She's gone through a ton. She talks about it, I believe, in this ending as well, that she failed Kal-El, and she truly still believes that she somehow failed him, even though we know that's far from the truth. But in the ending, she wants to restore all the cities and she gets help from the Justice League to basically do that, and she talks about how she's learning a ton and stuff like that, and it's more or less the redemption of Superman through a different Supergirl, you could say. I know it sounds kind of odd when I'm saying it like that, but she's replacing Kal-El and making that worth it and making everything, hopefully making everything better with her own presence now. And the fact that it even ends with her talking about how she basically, yes, she failed Kal-El, but she's not going to fail these other people that are still within these cities, and they can now enter the life, or a life of peace.
My hands still shake when I remember Brainiac's collection of Krypton. I want to give the world he stole a second chance, but bonding with Brainiac's ship is too risky. I need a safer way to restore our cities. I'm so glad for the Justice League's help. Barry, Professor Stein, they've already taught me so much. Every day, we get closer to reversing Brainiac's collection process. When we do, we'll pick the right star system. What Brainiac ruined will be reborn. Argo City and Kandor, Twin Cities, survivors. I couldn't save Kal-El, but I will save our people.
So there's no doubt that that ending is emotional. Obviously, there isn't that much emotional things happening in the ending specifically, but this last ending, Jesus, when I say it is massively emotional, it is massively emotional, and that involves Starfire. And most of you probably already know how sad her story truly is, because in this reality, or in this ending, yes, she's able to defeat Brainiac, and she talks about that. She says that even after beating the most powerful being, she thinks about the times back in Titan's Tower, eating pizza after a big victory, but they're all gone. And they're all gone one way or another. And frankly enough, the main person that's gone, and that it's horrible and sad and dreadful, is her love, Dick Grayson. Star-crossed lovers was even killed. And frankly, we all know the way he was killed, so it's kind of even sadder. I mean, straight up was killed by someone he deemed very similar to a brother of his, a fellow Robin. It's a sad, sad ending for the life of Dick Grayson, and she's left all alone. She's the only one there. But now she tries to basically move forward, to create a new team, make new bonds, but she even dignifies that they may not be her Titans, and they may never ever be, which is even sadder to relay. It's as if she's never truly going to be past the lives or the lost lives of all of the people she loves so much. But they began anew, and she did beat Brainiac, so at least that deserves a mustard party, which probably is the only thing she said that actually made me slightly smile while watching this ending.
Back in the day, this victory would have called for a party at Titan's Tower. The music, the laughter, the mustard with pizza on bottom. But these days, I have no party mates. Raven became a servant of Trigon. Cyborg? He joined the regime. Beast Boy has been missing so long, I must assume he is dead. Dick Grayson. He was my star-crossed soulmate. He will never be replaced. And now, all that's left is me, last of the Titans. Dick would not approve of the moping. I only overcame the loss of Tamaran by coming to Earth and forging new bonds of friendship with the Titans. It is incumbent upon me to repeat history, to forge new bonds of friendship. Maybe they're not my Titans, but the only way I know to honor my lost friends is to make sure that no matter what, there will always be Titans together. After all, I beat Brainiac. That was a victory. And victories call for mustard parties.
So I think overall I can say these are some extremely emotional endings for Injustice 2. Maybe I'm just a big softie, but at the end of the day, I do believe that these are emotional one way or another, either if that's because of lost loved ones, maybe reconciliation with other people, finding loved ones once again, being with loved ones, whatever. It's very, very emotional. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Maybe there was some ending that I missed, and maybe there's an ending that you believe is emotional, or maybe there's some endings of Injustice 2 that you absolutely love and think I should be making a video about. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I know this video is a little bit different than the stuff that I've been making recently, but I just rewatched a lot of these Injustice 2 endings, and I just felt the absolute need to make a video on it. So I decided to do it. Nonetheless, hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube believes that you'll enjoy this one, so why not click it? There's no point of not to if you enjoy my content.